There's a big war with digital marketers versus things we can track and things we can't track, and especially with bigger companies. And if you can't measure it, you can't track it, we don't want to do it. And that mindset exists because in organizations, there's a hierarchical chain of command, and you got to get it approved. And at the end of the day, everything comes down to numbers and metrics. But in social media, when content is shared, it can be tracked. But if I see a piece of content on social media and I direct message it to my friend through Facebook Messenger, or I DM it in a tweet, or I DM it in an Instagram post, and then that person engages with the traffic, the analytics is actually going to show that post as direct traffic. So a lot of social media traffic, a lot of social media engagement that gets measured by marketers gets put into the wrong bucket.
Yeah.
And that's called dark social. And actually, up to about 70% of social media content that gets engaged with is through a direct share, which would be considered a dark.
That's what I was going to ask you. So you think it's up to 70%?
It's up to 70%.
Holy cow.
So, and I think the brands that understand this are able to do social well, and the brands that don't understand this and have to live and die by the metrics that they know and the metrics that they trust, oftentimes can miss the boat. And I think there'll be a lot of more opportunities to discuss that as the hour progresses.
Very interesting. Thank you. You just talked a lot about metrics, about data. Shannon, I think data is exactly what you're all about. Is that right?
Yeah, I love the data component of social media. I think what PJ said is definitely right. Like, there are most companies, they want to see the numbers, they want to see the ROI, especially if they haven't been coming from a place of social. But what I encourage a lot of companies to do when it comes to their social is understand, how can you use social and integrate it with other aspects of the organization? How can you tie it with your email marketing team? How can you tie it in with the users that are engaging on your website? There are so many amazing ways to use social as a tool for engagement and bringing people in. For instance, if you have their email address, you can go back on Facebook, you can go back on Twitter and go and find their handles and re-engage with them. And I think there is something very special about a brand taking the time to do that with a customer and saying hey, we really want to bring you into our family, we're going to keep you in the loop.
Yeah. I want to make an arch to the other side of the spectrum. So we just talked about metrics, about data, and Sue, I think you said it's about thinking like an editor. So it's sounds to me like a different approach, or is it not?
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, we throw out data-driven, being a data-driven marketer a lot, and it's important because to look at those data points, but also balance it on the experience. You don't want to be too data-heavy and miss that authentic connection that you have with whoever your followers are. So being an editor, I think this is where content marketers have really, the good content marketers have learned is they look at, okay, I hate to throw out New York Times, but we'll use New York Times as an example. They know, and those journalists that have columns and things of that nature, they know that people are there because they like their content.
Yeah.
So they have to continue to give them content. But on the same token, there's the retention piece and there's the acquisition piece. So keeping the existing people happy, but growing. So growing the base, because that's the two in concert is where you're going to have growth. So that's where you do, it's very interesting today that we're talking about all these different things, omni-channel and social listening. It goes back to social listening. Who you're looking for an audience, so you need to really understand where those people are, listen, engage, and all those things to bring them in, offer them that type of content.
Yeah.
And I loved your point about omni-channel. I know what do I want to say? The panel, it talked a little bit more about data and less about engagement with omni-channel. But omni-channel is hot right now because the spirit of omni-channel is basically connecting all these different marketing initiatives together with the same message, the same consistency to extend the brand and basically tie everything up in a bow. So that when you have somebody on social media, you might be able to do whatever push or pull marketing initiatives you want to get them into email, to get them to subscribe.
Gotcha.
So you're,
And
so you're
all of that
building.
with the right content. Justin, I'm going to go to you for a sec, because one thing that you said was, it's not just the content, it's not just the metrics, it's also really the etiquette, I guess. You know, being mindful of somebody's time and understanding what their needs are.
Respecting the user, that's what it comes down to. So, God, I deal with so many social media managers now who are constantly talking about their quotas. You know, how many times I posted on Facebook 10 times this week, tweeted out 20 times this week, and they're hitting numbers rather than doing what's important. Do less, but just do it better, okay? Respecting the user's experience when they're navigating through their social media networks and they're really looking for largely entertainment, and you're force-feeding them content is going to lead to an attrition rate where you're losing followers. Rather than understanding their time is scarce, and again should be respected.
Yeah.
So put more time to higher quality content. Don't go into your pitches if you're a social media manager yourself with here's how much work I'm going to do. Rather, maybe here's the creativity that we're going to do. Here's how we're going to engage users, rather than just how much time and hours we're going to do.
But I think that starts with the conversation of what is the value of social, and that everybody in the organization has to feel that. Because I don't think inherently that social media marketers feel that they should just be doing it to hit quotas. I think they're forced into it because of the person that they're reporting to, or their management, or what their executives want to see. And so people who are brought on to do social media, they understand that you have to engage in many ways. But at the end of the day, if the only thing people care about is how many times you've tweeted, how many impressions that you could see based on the Twitter analytics, then I think that it creates unfair balances of not the reward systems that are not.
So Shannon, I think that's an interesting aspect, because I get what you're saying. On the other hand, we are also all forced as marketers into delivering to a higher objective, which is supporting the business objectives, right? Business is not just there for shits and giggles,
Yeah.
right? It's there to make money, right? If you don't do that, you're not going to have a job tomorrow. So how do you
So I would say that it's
reconcile this?
the difference between short-term gains versus long-term gains. And if you are saying for instance, I've had many clients who the only thing they care about is that the website on their traffic, that little thing in Google Analytics that says what part of your traffic is coming from social. And that's the only number they care about. And so for that's like saying the number of people, clicks that go to the website. So inherently you're going to create content around driving people to website content. But there is that limits you in many, many different ways to engage and capitalize upon other types of trends and other types of, other types of conversations. And I think that, I don't think what we're saying is different. I think what we're saying is the person who is assessing the success of the social media, or the social media manager, or the social media organization needs to understand that social media fits into a much longer play than just
They need to have a big
little
picture in
details.
mind.
Yeah, and those, revenue is important,
Yeah.
but I don't think that individual clicks are necessarily.
So the C-suite, to your point, they're focusing either on revenues or costs. And I know that there are a lot of initiatives. In our last panel, we talked about brand advocacy and customer experience. And content marketing even fits in that there's a lot of education that needs to occur, so that we're shifting the mindset of not always going for the traditional, oh, me too. These CEOs, I work with a lot of CEOs that they're new to digital marketing, and they see, what is that? Is it water.org? I don't remember what the...
Charity Water?
Yeah, thank you, Charity Water.
How did you know?
That they see things like Charity Water, they have all these great things that have come up, great results. It didn't happen overnight,
Yeah.
but they don't see that piece. They don't see
So it's happening in a bigger context, right?
Exactly, so that's where education needs to occur, and we actually have to show these CEOs and whoever in the C-suite, okay, this is what we're getting. Kind of like Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder, if you saw that movie, about the two tires, and Harry showed them my way and your way, and we basically have to show the C-suite, okay, these are the results we're getting with this. We're doing it what you want. But here is what we're doing a different way, and see, these are results, getting better ROI, getting more quality
Yep.
leads and conversions. So a lot of that is stepping a little bit back and looking at the big picture and how we can appease our C-suite, but also get really solid and sustainable growth.
And I think it's important to understand as a marketer that you work within a certain framework, right? You're not just there for, to make the Twitter stream look good or something like that, right? So I want to come back to the core of the conversation that we're here to have, which is about engaging with your social media followership, right? And so we talked a little bit about the best practices, key tenets, and Gregor, I want to talk about what you see as the future. Where do you think things are going? And in our conversation and prep for this, you talked about micro content. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean by that and how I can use that micro content for my specific channels?
Yeah, a great way to think about I don't even know that content marketing has any meaning anymore, even though that's technically what I'm sort of doing with my life, because I think it's all marketing now. It's all content marketing. And I would say, to the points raised earlier, I always view it in my head as like a math equation. On one side is the consumer value proposition, which I often think of as CVP, and the other side, the equal signs, is the question mark. What is it? If you're taking someone's time, what are you giving them in return? So if someone's opening an email or watching a video or doing something, why should they be doing that? I do think ultimately that should ladder up to making money for somebody. That's the point, definitely. But what I meant specifically about micro content is I think, a lot of people, when we meet with these companies that we meet with regularly, like Snapchat and Pinterest, and they'll say, hey, your best performing photos, posts, pins, are the ones that are just terrible photos taken on a cell phone, not these stylized photo shoots. And that pill seems, I think, difficult for some people to swallow who are trained in conventional marketing, where they say, we need to control the brand, we need to have beautiful everything. And to me, that's what I mean by micro content, which is smaller, cheap, fast, lower quality, but more authentic content. Because I think the kind of fundamental truth of marketing, which is really the seismic kind of magnetic pole that's shifting it, is that 400 million people are walking around with a cell phone with a camera on it.
Yep.
And they're making content every minute of every day, uploading 9 billion Snapchats.
So everybody's becoming a content creator.
In a sense.
Yeah.
And I think
User-generated content's form of micro content.
I think, well, to call it user-generated content is absolutely being perverted by being marketers ourselves. I would just call it what people are doing. The action people are taking is they eat breakfast and they take a picture of it. They walk their dog and they take a picture of it. And what I think that's trained a generation of people to do is when they look at your kitty litter brand, they want to see something like the other 100 pictures that they looked at that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the world is shifting toward homemade, amateur, content creation. It's not content, it's just the pictures they're taking and posting to their streams.
Snaps, spectacles.
Yeah, although, a side note, if you get nothing else from today's talk, I did just talk to Snapchat yesterday, and I said, what should we be thinking about spectacles? And they said, nothing, forget about spectacles. I think it's an early stunt for Snapchat at the moment. But I do think, I think things are getting smaller, cheaper, and faster. That's what I mean by micro content.
Yeah.
And I think to teach the elephant to dance of a big company that's used to spending X amount and a 6-month planning cycle and all that, versus a thing is happening and they're going to get on board by the community manager's going to take a picture on the desk with their phone and post it while it's relevant. That's a big gap for most people, because most people are like 5 approvals before that happens and we're going to plan it out. It's an editorial calendar on their social schedule as opposed to just
Taking the video or taking the picture and putting it up.
Big companies will be doing the mannequin challenge in July.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
But that's a very good point. The ancient Seinfeld reference, when George Costanza comes back the week later to the Yankees meeting and says, the jerks dog called and they want their jerk back. And the joke on that episode was that his comeback was like a week later. That to me is how a lot of companies are interacting in the social space, which is they're like, let's do a thing on planking in 2017. The process is so constipated that by the time it comes out, no one cares.
So it's about speed and about the channel that you deploy. Right?
Real time.
Yes, I think, you know the three things everyone says you can have it fast, cheap, and good or something, you can't have all three. I think that's the balance that people just need to get through their heads, is that it's okay to be fast and, good. You don't have to worry so much about the quality if you can get it to market while people still care. Because that, to me, is the price of entry of social, is that no one cares about your comeback from yesterday.
Yeah.
You have to be there to participate in the conversation.
So that's gotta resonate really well with you, right? Because you talked about video and I think also user-generated video as the future of where social media engagement is gonna go, right?
Social media is naturally evolving, and all of the big social medias have a video play now. So there's Periscope, and there's Facebook Live, and there's Snapchat, and there's Instagram video. And it seems like the latest evolution of social media is evolving toward video. And my question is Facebook eventually going to be all video? Is it going to? How much can it evolve? So for brands and companies, if you were thinking about video early, that meant that you had a YouTube channel. But now in 2017, 2016, thinking about video means like we have to do Facebook Live, we have to do Periscope, we have to do these other forms of video, we have to do Snapchat, and so brands really have to be thinking about what should our approach be, and how can we deliver to our followers a good, relevant experience. How can we be timely, and we have to do this under the landscape of a very constipated process, as you said. So it's the evolution. If it was slow and it's now getting faster, it's going to have to get a lot faster to keep up with the speed of live video. So it's going to be interesting to see how the big brands evolve as social media continues to evolve.
And really quick, do you think the video of that, the future of that video content is going to be one where the brands actually own it, or do you think it's one where they collaborate with the consumers, or what's that gonna look like?
In my opinion, it would have to be a mix of both. Probably a little bit more on the user, consumer side, and then a little bit on the brand side. But actually, I think you'd have some pretty good insight for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is funny how, there used to be a thing called broadcast standard up until about 10 years ago for television, where they said it has to be this kind of uncompressed video.
Right.
And nowadays, a lot of stuff you see, reality TV and also like the news, they just show someone's uploaded cell phone video that they took from the scene of the car crash. I think the world is shifting downward toward, faster, cheaper things. So I'd say that's absolutely what marketers are trying to respond to, is that one authentic picture of a fan who's like, thumbs up, I like your product, is worth $1 million photo shoot with 10 art directors styling the
Yeah. So I see the other side of the panel getting nervous here, because Justin wants to chime in. Because I think you have augmented reality on your radar.
I was going to talk about that, but actually, I was reminded of something when PJ was just speaking, talking about social's move to video, and our barrier to accepting lower quality content has gone down. That's why we can get away with user-generated content, that sort of stuff. And who here knows about the new Power Rangers movie coming out? You guys know, right? You're pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited about it. And I didn't watch the commercial on YouTube. I just happened to be scrolling through and somebody shared it on Facebook, and I clicked the trailer, and guess what? The entire trailer was in vertical video. The trailer for Power Rangers on my Facebook feed that I shared was in vertical video. Now imagine, this is an action movie, okay? We have peripheral vision, we're used to seeing things on landscape. We all hate vertical video. If you don't, you should. But they knew that this user experience was appropriate for this platform, and they delivered it that way. And I was so encouraged that they did it, but also I was like, oh, this sucks. So at the same time, I just turned my phone, but I can see also a move there. As far as the video, yeah.
vertical video. You know that moment that happened a minute ago when people would be like, I won't watch that video you sent me because it's vertical? That was the snobby move 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
And now, I just met with a mobile video company that serves vertical video, because now they're saying, this is a phone, people are holding it, and that snobby mover you're supposed to turn it sideways to watch it landscape has already gone away. So the people who slept through that, congratulations. You can still keep shooting.
They're going to be
So lazy to
The future solved the problem for you.
I think she's got a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to change the subject, this is a great
No,
topic.
please.
I'm just curious, we learned earlier today about loyalty marketing and gamification and social. Can you, okay.
Yes.
We learned earlier today about gamification and loyalty marketing and social. Are you guys doing any of that with your clients? Or can you talk about it? Where you're delivering
takers?
games and integrating social with your campaigns and live campaigns?
I can speak to that. A lot of our clients are just going to market with new products, and so the point that we come in is we'll go in and help them set up their entire content strategy across various different channels. But what's so interesting about like one company or one group doing it is that you do actually get control over tying in the content across various channels and being able to purpose it for each content. So for example, like I think what a lot of companies get wrong is that they'll post like the same thing on Facebook as they will on Twitter, as they will on Instagram. And that's really, really bad because there are different types of users there. And that's just, it shows you that there's like a lack of understanding of someone who is like actually being thoughtful with their content. And so today, I think when companies do go to market or when they try to engage, they are pretty thoughtful about how they choose to do it and what ways they do it, and they actually go through concerted efforts to tie them all together.
Do you use loyalty platforms to create that content?
Yeah, you can use like referral campaigns for certain things, encourage people to share. I mean, there's a million different things depending on what your product is or platform is, or if you want to create it inside the platform and create stickiness there, but I think that's always something that you should keep in mind.
Kickoff Labs is good.
Yeah.
So Kickoff Labs will monitor a campaign for you, so you can give away a discount to a product if they share it to 5 friends, and a bigger discount if they share it to 10, and
Yeah.
they get it for free if they share it to 20. And Kickoff Labs will actually manage that infrastructure
You can
for
create
you.
your own tiers.
You can create your own tiers,
Yeah.
giveaways and stuff by different actions through how many people they sign up or how many referrals they drive.
And they get cut from the revenue? Or how does
They
it
actually,
work?
they take a fee, a flat fee to
Gotcha.
use and embed their platform. And there's a couple tiers there, but it's worth looking into if that's something that in your line of work that you're thinking about. Kickoff Labs is something I researched.
Yeah, well, actually, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think I'm on the ground up here, but hearing like GoDaddy's problems are different than, say, Clorox Brand's problems. It's interesting, we have gamification, and because we're a bigger company, we have a group that does it mostly in shopper marketing, that does things like, you know, a new-ish thing is people shop in the supermarket with their mobile phone, scanning either for deal codes.
Shopkick, yeah.
Shopkick, and we have partnerships with a bunch of these places that do what now I think a lot of consumers expect, which is, I'm not just going to buy that thing, I'm going to do it for frequent flyer buyer miles, I'm going to do it
Yeah.
for some reason, and my bananas are going to get me something. I think there are, what is interesting in going to conferences like this and even sitting in back-to-back panels, is you hear people's priorities are so different, because some people are still focused on what I would consider the old school lead generation. We want to sell you and we're going to hunt you down and email you to death until you buy from us, versus different steps of the funnel where you're trying to drive conversion. I do think gamification is here to stay. It's definitely not like in everything we do, but there's absolutely an expectation on a subset of consumers that they're not going to take action without reward. So whether they get 3 purple monkeys in Farmville that you know still existed, which I think it does in some form, but you know, or that's absolutely happening. That I think is taking over digital couponing in a whole world of subset of that.
I guess the reason for it gaining ground is that it's the instant gratification, and the instant gratification is important to this next round of users.
Yeah, the interesting and complex thing about this is, I'm guessing based on everything that you said, is also you really have to think about the different audiences that you have so that you speak to them with the right kind of incentive in order to get them engaged, right? Because otherwise you're offering up one solution that is supposed to fit all, and it's just not going to happen.
And to me, an amazing thing about engagement, I've been doing this just at Clorox for about 8 years now. We started talking about engagement, and we're still talking about engagement, because as a KPI, there's still plenty of analytics people who don't believe engagement is a metric that means anything. And some people who are just like, the value of this is we're going to engage people. And there's like different religions. Some people believe in engagement, some people don't. Some people say the only thing that matters is sales or ROI, or like, these conversations have never gone away, the ROI of social. I think, and they're good conversations. If you spend $5 million, you want to know what am I getting back for it. But I do think engagement as a portal to conversion to a sale seems like a good kind of engagement. The other piece of that coin I would just say, which has never gone away, is the value of a hand raiser, which I think is the most valuable social period. The most valuable thing about social is someone who likes you so much they don't just come to your store. They put up a post saying, I use Burt's Bees lipstick and I love it. And we didn't pay them to do that. They just put it up there and it gets 6,000 likes. And that's someone who's basically working for your company for free as an advocate. So I like the path to advocacy as the kind of avenue of social. That's my kind of mantra. But engagement is the path to advocacy, so it's sort of perfect.
Right. I want to come to what I know is Josh's favorite aspect of these conferences. So we talked about what are best practices, we talked about what the future is going to be, and then we have to talk about how do you actually implement this whole thing? What kind of tools are you using? What are the tricks of the trade, right? What do you have up your sleeves? And I want to hear from you guys a little bit about what you can share with our audience here, how you can use tools to be more effective, or maybe add a new aspect to the engagement of your social following. And I want to start with you, Sue. I think.
Oh, I have so many tools.
Yeah, you had a ton in our prep. I think one of them was Canva.
Canva.
Canva,
Oh,
sorry.
I absolutely love Canva. I mean, it's
Spell it for us.
Canva.
Thank you.
Canva.com.
I'll make it.
Great.
Okay, Kawasaki.
Justin's
The
on.
thing that I like about Canva is, I mean, someone like me who uses Photoshop, that's one person that, you know, I could put any type of imagery in social. But somebody who doesn't have access to Photoshop, doesn't understand how to use it, can easily go into Canva and make beautiful images. Whether it's a quote with a nice background.
Yeah.
And what I also like about it is Guy Kawasaki is an advisor for this company.
I think it's his baby, isn't it?
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
He's involved.
Yeah, he is an advisor.
I thought he started it.
And anything, I've known Guy for a while, Apple Days, Garage Ventures, and all that stuff.
So
and
how do you use Canva? What do you do with it? And when you created your nice picture, what do you do with it in order to engage your audience?
As an example, last panel discussion, we were talking about my partner and me, Stacey DiPolo. We have a new Twitter chat called AdvoChat, and it's all about brand advocacy, customer experience. So what we're using these things to is we created images to promote our chat. When we get in the chat, we're actually tweeting, here's the question coming up, because I don't know if you guys have been in Twitter chats. Some of them that have a lot of people in there, the feed just goes a mile a minute, and you don't even remember what the question is. So we make sure that we have an image with the question.
So you stand out with the
Exactly.
with the image. Nice.
We have, okay, these are our house rules. That's our first thing. These are our house rules. Here's our guest, and thank yous, and key things that we hear in the chat, we'll post up. So what I think about Canva is it's a great differentiator on social media.
Nice. Okay. Justin, when you think about the tools that you have up your sleeve, Iconosquare came up. Do you have others?
Yeah, Iconosquare. Hootsuite, I'm sure everybody knows Hootsuite uses Hootsuite.
Tell us about Iconosquare. What do you do with
So
it?
actually, I'm very not active on Twitter, but also very active on Instagram instead. So a little bias there. This is actually going to lead into a quick little story about what not to do. Kind of going back to what we were saying about respecting your users. So with Iconosquare, one thing you can keep track of as far as analytics, as far as what people are following you, who's following those people, your rate of attrition, which is where I want to go. One example I had was with a restaurant that I work with in Orlando. High-end restaurant, typically at average seats, 100, 120 a seat. And their PR agency had a quota, and they decided every single day they were going to take the same 30 stock images they had, and they would just recycle those every single day. Okay, you know what I'm saying? And so after a month, you're giving the same user see the exact same content, And using something like Iconosquare, we can see the rate of attrition
Okay.
and give you that red flag.
So
So
it's-
you may not otherwise have.
Summarize it a little bit. So it's a measurement tool that helps you.
It's, imagine Google Analytics for
Okay.
Instagram,
So for the picture-driven campaigns.
for the picture-driven campaigns.
Nice.
Exactly.
Never follows your gain, how it follows your loss over time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Shannon, you had on your list of top tools that you use Branch.
Yeah,
Is
Branch
that
is
true?
a,
I never heard of them. How does that work? What is it?
yeah,
Why
that-
do I use it?
they're an interesting company. They came out of Stanford GSB. And what they do is they enable you to turn any kind of mobile content into something that is actually searchable and trackable and discoverable. And currently there's this big problem of like, if you have content inside your app, you can't share it with the external world because there's an app download wall, there's a login wall, and like, there's no way to do it, and a lot of times there aren't even any links that are associated with the content inside mobile. And so what they've done is they've created a free version that lets any company that has an app create analytics around all the content inside. And what I think is interesting about that in social is that they basically opened up this huge breadth of content that previously was not accessible to the average person who's on a desktop, or even anybody who had not previously downloaded that app onto their phone. And now you can actually search through that content, and then the companies can actually get analytics.
So
on it,
it
too.
expands the channel in
It
a way.
totally, it like doubled the world of how much content is out there.
That's
And I
amazing.
think they're super new and upcoming, and they're really, really interesting.
And they're a branch like you would imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's all right.
What is that? So where do I find them on the web, or how do
You
I
can go to branch.io.
branch.io?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I don't know if I answered on my pre-sheet, but I'll tell you one anyway.
Yeah. Please.
You know, I kind of went through this evolution that I think a lot of people went through with like Spreadfast and Sprinkler and different solutions to content management platforms to try and push stuff up. I like Opal, which was purpose-built for Nike, and it's, I think, the kind of next step evolution in how to manage your content. I think their website has worked with Opal, and if they couldn't get
What
Opal.
is that? I'm sorry.
Opal, like the
Opal.
ring.
How do you spell it?
OPAL. They're just a really interesting version of, for expedited content, it's super easy user interface with like green and red clicks to, you know, gate it through legal or whatever for posts. Because a lot of those things, like even going back to Buddy and those early days ones, you had to go to Buddy University, and I don't want to go to university, I already did. Like, these were things where you had to be trained on for 6 months. The nice thing about Opal is really fast, out of the can, user, you know, intuitive thing where you can just get your stuff up faster and easier, and not have to train people.
Nice. Love it. Justin, do you mind adding that
Absolutely.
to the list? Thank you.
Actually, want to give up here as well too.
Awesome.
Do you want to add
There's a couple tools.
OPAL
OPAL.
like the gem?
Branch.
branch.
There's a couple
Thanks so
tools
much.
I like, and then I'm drawing, it wasn't on my sheet, I just thought of it, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but there's a tool that you can have in your content, and it'll make the quotes tweetable. So,
Oh yeah.
Tweet, click to tweet.
yeah, click the tweet. Click the tweet. So if you have a couple, if you write a good blog post and there's like one or two really good pieces of information there, you can click that and it'll put the quote in a tweet and tweet it out with the URL to the blog post, which is helpful. Another thing I like, it's really elementary tool, but is Buffer, which is kind of like the new kid on the block to Hootsuite. And they have a really cool content recommendation engine where you can download a Chrome extension, and if you like something, you can add it to your buffer queue, and it will, it'll schedule the post at a later date. But then it starts to learn the content that you typically share, and it will start to find and recommend good content for you. So if you're doing social media management for a lot of brands, which is bad, you shouldn't be doing social media management for a lot of brands. So that's what happens in the small digital marketing world. It helps manage multiple clients. It takes the load
I think it's a fabulous
a little bit. And then another cool tool that I use is there's a app called Snapchat, and there's the filters when you turn the phone around, and there's this really cool filter that when you hold it up to your face, it like slims your face out and makes you look better looking, and that's good. And then there's another one that adds a dog ears, and if you smile, it sticks a tongue out. and you can actually take selfies and you look like a dog. And then if you post those all over social
Right,
media,
example.
people really
Or
love
Snapchat.
to see
Snapchat.
I think
those.
it's called
Thanks
Snap
Snapchat, we got it.
Snap, oh,
Snap Inc.
You know, people can't get enough of the dog face
Snap.
Snapchat filter. So more of those, please. If you're sharing them, please more of those. The
So
internet
is
needs
it-
more of those.
Is that a way to engage with your social audience though? I mean, do you recommend for a company to actually develop a filter like that? What do you think?
Well, actually, I think geo filters are fantastic for companies, especially like if you're hosting an event, or even if you're having a party, or any sort of doing some sort of geo filter, it is great and very underpriced relative to the amount of brand impressions that it gets comparative to other sources out there. So I think the Snapchat geo filter is an impression arbitrage.
I'll tell you something about Snapchat, which I think the conventional wisdom, especially among people, 25 and up on Snapchat, is to shake your head in disbelief. Millennials are so stupid. Their attention span is shorter than a goldfish. All the things that get said all the time about Snapchat and the contempt in general that people are held in who do Snapchat. Snapchat is pushing 9 billion snaps a day, and let's say not like it. I was going to say like it or not. Most people, older people, can't get their heads around it. It is, for whatever reason, a secret sauce that seems to be incredibly popular, ragingly widely adopted. So I do think, as far as social media advice, it's worth understanding Snapchat and what motivates people to, like Coke just had a super successful ad that was less than 4 seconds, which is almost half what a Vine would be. And I think conventional marketers would say, I want to have my logo up for longer, that's not long enough, whatever. I think it's just, to me, the changing world is that's how people are consuming things, faster, and it's, evaporates after you look at it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's silly that people put dog ears on and all that stuff, but it's ragingly popular.
It works. The challenge for us as marketers though is nobody has yet really found a way to monetize on Snapchat, for instance. Right?
Snapchat just declared themselves to no longer be in the social media business, but to be in the camera business.
Okay.
They said we're a camera company. I mean, I don't think you can just say, like Zuckerberg said, we're whatever, a data company or mobile data company now, we're not. I don't know what they are or aren't. I'm just noting the most basic elemental childish thing.
The engagement
They're really
is
popular.
there. Right.
Maybe it's worth figuring out why and getting in on that.
And I think the Coke example you just gave is an interesting one, and I want to talk to you, Sue, about other companies that you find interesting that you think are doing a good job when it comes to engagement of the social audience. I think you had Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
listed as
So we were
one.
talking about real-time
Yep.
marketing. And I think we all remember Oreo, You Can Dunk in the Dark. I mean, you really have to build agile marketing into what you're doing and have a team, a C-suite, whatever, the mindset that we need to change things up a little bit.
So talk to me about Buffalo. Why?
Oh, the Colorado Buffaloes?
Yeah. Why do you think
Talking
they
about
did such a nice job?
Talking about Instagram, because,
Oh, sorry.
do you know the Colorado Buffaloes? I'm all excited because we're actually in the top 25 this year, and it's been.
I would love
What sport?
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yeah.
then we must chat
What
later.
sport is that?
But what I like about the Colorado Buffaloes, have you been on the Instagram page?
Not lately.
Oh, go to
The
the.
Colorado Buffaloes.
University of
Swedish
Colorado in
University
Boulder.
of Colorado.
Football team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, I wasn't connecting
Not
the dots on
Not
saying
just
saying
football
you.
team, not just the whole University of Colorado athletics. What I like.
They've been the punching bag of the Pac-12 for the past decade, pretty much. And now they're
You and
relevant.
I will beat him up later.
Yeah.
But anyhow.
I'm Stanford fan,
National
sorry.
champions,
Oh,
1995.
God.
All right, let's get to it.
But
what do they do
anyhow,
great?
what I like
and
about
what do you
it
like about
is they're really taking advantage of the Instagram stories. They're doing video. They're engaging with the fans and the students.
So it's good execution all around.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Greg, from looking from a perspective of a big company like Clorox, who's impressing you?
I mean, I think, I understand we're in our last minutes here, so I'd say, Oreo is fascinating, and that it's also sort of been a thorn in the side of every social media marketer, and that what they did has sort of never been repeated. And all the people who said, oh, you gotta have a war room and have pre-prepared videos for if someone falls down at the Emmys or the Oscars, that will then run that, and if they stand up and make a joke, we'll run that. And everyone tried to be prepared. That to me was lightning in a bottle, and I'm not sure it's likely to happen again, where the lights go out at the Super Bowl. That's only happened once. They happen to be able to go out. I think the people who are doing it really well, who are crushing it, are sort of it's kind of obvious in the marketplace, there's only a few of them and they are kind of consistently great. You know, Starbucks, early adopters of every possible thing that comes along, and they're always out front with like, you can buy someone a cup of coffee on your phone. Now everyone else can do that, but they were first. You know, like, so I think that to me is a mindset. That's not a technology. That's just a company who's ready to take a chance and invest in it. Pepsi, who diverted $500 million from conventional ad spend to digital, they got written up, you know, when they did it. Now, of course, everyone else is trying to catch up. So I'd say there's a lot of people doing stuff like that. I do think to call out the Colorado Buffaloes for being able to take advantage of Instagram, in a way, is a sad indictment of our field, in that everyone should be taking advantage of Instagram. It's not like they're
Well,
new and doing it well. We should all be the Colorado Buffaloes, is all I'm saying. We should all be able to take advantage of these things, which everyone across the land is using at a rate of whatever, 100 an hour.
Well, it's all about enhancing the experience. At the end of the day, it's always driving the experience. And taking a couple steps back and understanding who your audience is and what they want. I mean, it's when you think
It's
about
about
it,
the audience.
yeah, it's
Makes
all
sense.
about the audience, and it's fairly easy. But you know, to your point, you're talking about the traditional. We get caught up in these old paradigms that we have to do it this way, we have to go in this direction, or else. So what's the line if you keep doing something over and over again?
Definition is done.
It's
I mean,
insane.
to me, I actually, I'll give you this answer. Here's a pat answer.
Go ahead.
Jimmy Kimmel, who I think is worse at late night than his 2 or 3 rivals, is crushing it because I think he embraces social media way better than Kimmel, way better than Stephen Colbert. And he has a show on Snapchat, which I defy anyone here to even understand what that means. But he has a show on Snapchat where it's everyone's cameras across the audience are jumping back and forth like this crazy schizophrenic video feed. And he's crushing it on all his little clips that get posted, reposted really cleverly the next day. So I think, to me, he's a living example of you don't even have to be the best product. You can just be the best at social media and you'll win.
Best at executing it.
Yeah.
2 questions in the audience. I'm going to start with you.
So I'd like to know, would you say that every company should invest in social? Because this is a question that with a smaller marketing we ask ourselves a lot. And there's no question on how successful and how big it will continue to go. But is this something that every company should be investing in?
Tell me about your company.
Well, our company, in a nutshell, we are a semiconductor distributor, and our customers are engineers. And so we are able to increase awareness, or certainly audience for social, but again, the C-level, the question of the ROI and the value of it is hard to determine.
I'll give you this pat answer. I saw Caterpillar give a presentation on how, Caterpillar that makes bulldozers, their average unit cost is over $1 million for a Caterpillar machine. And they put RFID chips into the name badges at a sales show, and they tracked from cameras in the ceiling who walked up to what on the floor of these giant Caterpillar machines. And then they tracked them and followed them up with social targeting and retargeting. And they showed just on that one thing, putting RFID tags in, that they sold whatever, 200x what they normally would have sold. Now that's not saying that they should jump on a fun Instagram account and get a 23-year-old taking great pictures of caterpillars crushing stuff. That's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all
Could go
approach to social.
viral.
Yeah, it could. But what they did do, which was genius, was figure out who their customers and how to target
How to engage with them.
Right. So I would say, absolutely, I don't even know what social media means anymore. I think all marketing is social, but being incredibly smart about it and figuring out how you're going to win still takes some genius in the content strategy world who's going to say, here's how to do it. Or, well, who's the truck company who got Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits in Sweden? I think it's must have Volvo. Like, who saw that one coming? Incredible play.
I want to jump in here just because you use the word budget. I want to talk about Caterpillar, I want to talk about Volvo. I work with a lot of brick and mortar companies out of Florida, and the answer to the question is sometimes no. You really have 2 kind of class of goods. You have goods that you're always in the market for. I love acting sports, so I'm always in the market for GoPro. I love everything they post on Facebook. I want to see everything that they generate and show me. Fashion, love seeing clothes, whether it's fashion, same sort of thing. And then you have products that you're only one time in the market for, and then not in the market for a while after that. Those are a lot of my clients. Furniture, you buy furniture once every 7 years. I have a flooring client, same general thing. Health insurance. These are sorts of clients where they ask me all the time. I say, Justin, should we pay you a little bit more so you can manage our social? And I'm like, no, just save your money. Do something else with it. You have to understand that allocate your money to things that are gonna work. So sometimes the answer is no, I totally believe that. Totally believe that.
That's where understanding your audience and where they're going
Goes back
is
to
really
that, yeah.
important.
For a semiconductor company, if there's something, if there's something that the people in the company or people that are in the industry would understand, whether it's metrics or whether it's a joke or it's anything about that, then you have a very small range. You know, your range isn't here where an Oreo or an Airbnb has a range of cool content. Your range of cool content to your audience is very, very small, and that's your guidelines of where you need to leverage.
I'll give you a slightly complimentary but slightly different answer. I do think, you know, the aphorism that marketing is targeting the most expensive real estate in the world, which is inside your head, right? So someone somewhere is deciding whether it's B2B or B2B2C, which is our model. Someone is deciding what modem to buy with what semiconductor inside of whatever it is. At some point, someone's spending $1 million. I don't know what the route is to that person, but I think whether you call it social media marketing or not, it's like questioning the value of marketing. At some point, you need to influence the decision when that person has a binary choice to say, do I go with Hewlett Packard or Texas Instruments, which I guess is one company now. You need to influence it.
One more response to that. So another one of my clients that fits the same examples as before is a law firm. You guys follow a lot of law firms on social media? Of course not. It's boring as heck. Now, however, when you're in the market for a law firm to begin with, you might actually find one you like and then follow them. But after you've used them, you're going to unfollow them. So I continue to maintain my law firm's social media account because they are constantly getting vetted. So I might retract my no answer with just enough to get by, because what's happening is we have a lot of potential clients come to the website and then going to the social media just to make sure that they're legit. It's a legitimizing effort, so maybe put it just enough.
That's why I'll adjust my answer
Yeah.
more to the no side so we can find common ground to interested out. I think when people say, should we be on Facebook, should we be on Instagram? Well, I think it's a really essential question. I don't know that everyone should be on Facebook or Instagram or have a Twitter following because it doesn't necessarily make sense for lead gen or whatever your purpose is. Or even a restaurant. I think you're trying to, create occasion or I think it is a super complicated question disguised as a simple question to say, should we be on social?
We need to wrap things up, and I want to wrap with one final question, and I'm going to ask each of you to answer with one sentence, so that we still have opportunity to answer questions from the audience. If I want to engage with my social channel audience, and I want to be ahead of the game, in one sentence, what do I need to pay attention to? What is the one thing that I need to do, or that I need to have in the back of my head for the next 12 to 18 months? Where am I headed?
Well, I can start. All the companies, I mentioned this before, are in a constant battle to win the live streaming market. Facebook, you used to post something on a Facebook group and it would get sent out to millions of people. Now you've got to pay to reach that audience. The hack is if you go a live stream, you go Facebook Live, they'll send a push notification to almost all of your followers. You don't have to pay for that boost. So if you can figure out a way to make cool, engaging content that isn't going to be a total waste of people's time, go Facebook Live because you'll get a lot of impressions on it.
Love it.
Wow.
Great.
I would just say cheap video. I mean, the lingua franca of the world these days is video, and you need to have consistently good, cheap, fast video.
Shannon.
I would say like rewarding your users for generating content, encouraging them, incentivizing that process.
I'd say answer the why. Why am I following you? Why should I stay engaged with you?
What should I care?
I'm going to say this question going back to the future. I'll try to keep it close to
No, you
sentence.
have to close out. You can't.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the not too distant future, when you go into a restaurant, you are going to hold up your smart device up to a menu, and through the lens of your phone, you're going to see likes on every menu item. What your friends like, what have your friends commented about each one. Be respectful of upcoming technologies. Natasha, I was in the last panel discussion over here. She mentioned Sephora. People in Sephora walk around, she's noticing other customers looking around with their phones. Imagine being in Sephora, aiming your phone, and then seeing sort of like a Snapchat filter, that product on you, on a selfie taken from your phone. So we're not there yet for a lot of these things, but just be open to it.
Love it. Thank you guys. Good.